start with that, Drew. So as soon as you're ready, you let me know, and we'll move on.
I believe I'm ready.
I'm Jake, your bartender, if I didn't mention, and this is Drew, and we are Sports Around the Bar, professional as always. We're going to start with Al Horford, though, if you're ready. Obviously, opted out of his $30 million contract extension. Pretty tough, leaving that much money on the table when you're a 33-year-old center in the NBA, Drew. Is this the right move? Is it right for Al Horford to go after the longer contract? And instead of taking the guaranteed $30 million and have to deal with it in the next year or two when he goes to free agency, I'm not sure if it's a 1 or a 2-year player option on that one, but is it better to take that option and take the guaranteed money, or is he doing the right thing here and saying, forget the money, I just want to guarantee that a team is going to align themselves with me for the next 3 or 4 years?
Brian, what's going on, man? Dude, I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong idea or wrong choice. You just $30 million, just giving it up. It's not a big man, not his style of big man play NBA anymore. I think that's probably one of the best contracts that he's probably going to get offered. I just don't know if it's something else. I don't know if it's money, man. Maybe it's just not in belief of what the Celtics are doing moving forward.
And you've already got Kyrie on his way out the door, too. Seems pretty likely that either Kyrie moves on to Brooklyn, or we're also hearing reports now that Brooklyn is not interested in Kyrie Irving as a solo piece. They want Kyrie Irving, but only if they get another superstar to go with him. And I don't necessarily blame him. I don't know that Kyrie's that guy who wins you a championship just with him and you build a team around him of some B to C level players, and all of a sudden you're going to be in the finals or at least a contender. I understand the Nets kind of hesitation as well there.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on, a lot of moving parts here. Would you like to see Al Horford pair up with someone like Kyrie Irving and then maybe move on to Brooklyn?
I mean, it might be a great option for him, but again, the Celtics did it, and they didn't get very far. So it'd have to be someone with a lot different pieces. Obviously, the Nets have completely different pieces than the Celtics do, but I don't know. It's interesting. I think and I know we're going to get to this piece in a second, Houston's drama might be more outspoken. Maybe the Celtics drama is a little bit more internal and no one's speaking about it.
Well, this to me is the same kind of problem when it comes to Chris Paul and when the Rockets traded for him last year and they got a 5-year contract out of a guy who's already 33 or 32 at the time. It's the same way with Al Horford. You don't want to offer this guy a 3 or a 4-year contract at 33 and be stuck paying massive money to a guy who's 35, 36, 37, and his skill has fallen off. Because basketball contracts, 100% guaranteed. As soon as you promise them that you're going to pay them, they're on your roster. You can't cut them. You can't do anything like football to get that money off your books. If you sign this guy to a 3 or 4 year deal, he has to start, and he has to start playing well for 3 to 4 years, whatever you give him, or it's going to sink the team. There's too much money going into this guy to sit there and not, have him perform as a superstar for the next 3 to 4 years. Are you willing to bet on that?
It's a big bet. Brad's agreeing it. He said at 33 he would have took the money. Kerr isn't going to last much longer. That's where I'm getting at is he wants to win a championship. And I think he sees Kyrie leaving. And I don't know if he fully believes in the direction the Celtics are going. I know I keep hyping it up, but I think it's an unspoken issue in Boston. You're talking about, like we've said multiple times, a 33-year-old man, definitely more at the end of his career, playing a style of basketball that isn't huge right now in the NBA. And he went off and took a chance to probably take less money somewhere else.
Well, here's going to Brad's point here. Would you rather make $30 million for 1 year, or would you rather go sign a $15 to $20 million deal for 3 to 4 and make $60 over the course of that, and you're guaranteed to keep playing? If you fall off at 33 and you took that one big contract from the Celtics, what happens then? Where do you go when all of a sudden nobody wants you and you're talking about making veteran minimum or somewhere, $4, $5, $6 million instead of another $20 million guarantee? He wants the guarantee of longevity. And my question is, as a GM, can I afford to give it to a guy who, let's face it, 33, 34, 35, a lot of guys hit the wall there. And you go from being a superstar to being average to a liability even. There are times these guys fall off so hard. Look at Carmelo Anthony. He fell off so hard, he went from an asset to a liability overnight, and you're stuck paying him all this money, and no one wants to trade you for him. That's kind of where the Rockets are at with Chris Paul right now, is teams are seeing his play decline. No one wants to be left holding the bag.
Brian says, you gave up $30 million, you're going ring chasing. So he's kind of in agreement with me, but you're saying it more in the fact that
from everything I've heard and everything I've read,
he's trying to find his career to be a little bit longer.
Right.
In willing to take a decrease in money.
From everything I've heard and everything I've read about this situation, it's not so much about the ring, because I think he still believes, at first he tried to work out a deal with the Celtics. I think he believes the Celtics still have what it takes to get it done. I think when they weren't willing to guarantee him the 3 to 4 years that he wants, and let's face it, he probably wants 4 to 5, and then he'll settle for 3.
Right.
The Celtics are like, we can't afford to, because if we give you that money, we're on the hook for it. There's no negotiating our way out of it. There will be no trading for you. We could have good players, and your money alone will sink the rest of this team. Can't do it. You can't cut them. You can't do anything to get that money off the books. Everyone is afraid to give these older players long contracts. I think that, more than anything, is what he wants, because he wants to keep playing basketball. Everyone's saying you're ring chasing. I think he believed he could have had one with the Celtics. I don't think he's moving on because he thinks the Celtics are done. I think he just wants a guarantee. You would want one from your job, too. You're like, hey, I've been an all-star, right?
I see what you're saying. I exactly get it, and I know all the reports are out there saying exactly what you're believing in, but it just seems like if he fully believed in Boston, and he fully believed that this team can win a championship, even with the loss of Kyrie, why would you give up $30 million for next year? Why would you do it? Because let's just say you take $30 million, Boston cuts you. You're telling me you can't find a contract somewhere else
because I don't want to be the odd man out. Because you got to think of it like a GM, and credit to him for doing this. The easy thing would have been to take the money, say we'll let it ride in Boston. Either we win or we don't. And Boston's not the favorite. It'd be a little bit different if you're on someone like the 76ers or Toronto that are a favorite to go farther in the East.
Well, that's why I think his departure from it is because it's not.
But are they a team that could win a ring? If you put him there, they now have enough money for another max contract with Kyrie gone or very close to it. Do you think they could lure more talent? Because I would be willing to gamble on that. I'd be willing on Boston, the historic franchise, luring another superstar in to play with me.
But no one is out there saying, I want to go to Boston and play. No one's saying it.
Well, nobody's saying anything. It's all tight-lipped. I don't think anyone knows where they want to go, because everyone wants to go somewhere with someone else. No one wants to go somewhere and be alone. And if Horford would have stayed, you at the very least wouldn't be alone. So I don't think necessarily this is about winning championships as much for him as it is him saying, I want to keep playing basketball, and I don't want to have to go somewhere and be somebody's... I don't want to be expendable. And that's the toughest thing for aging athletes, is I want to stay playing and I want to stay the center of the team. We saw LeBron leave Cleveland because all of a sudden they're talking about we need to bring on more talent than LeBron because he's getting older. And then he said, you know what, I'm going to go on to L.A. And they would have liked to keep him too, but he said, I want this to be about me. I'm going to go out to L.A. And what happened? He made the team about him, right?
Yeah. Brian says he will sign with a contender with a chance to win ring is what he meant. He won't sign with a super team.
Well, I think if they offered the same money, I think he'd sign with a super team. I think every guy wants to win. But I think more than winning, in this situation, I think Al Horford is worried about keeping his career going because he wants to keep playing basketball.
I mean, one of the teams that it could be is if Cousins doesn't stay in the Warriors, he might take a pay cut to go win a ring.
If they gave him $5 million, I would take Al Horford out there. That'd be great, especially in a year where that you're talking about losing Klay Thompson until February and Kevin Durant, maybe entirely if he doesn't re-sign with you, but at the very least, he's probably missing all of next season.
Right.
That'd be a good move. Obviously, anyone going to the Warriors is a good move, but I think he's more thinking about, I want a team to commit to me for 3 to 4 years so that I get to keep playing basketball. As a starter, I don't want to be a role player. I don't want to be on somebody's bench, or I don't want to get relegated deep in where I don't have a role. I want to get paid, and when you're paid that much, obviously enough play has to play through you.
Brian is also saying that Kyrie is a huge influence for Al Horford to move from Boston, and I'm.
Do you think so?
I'm agreeing with it, man. I honestly do. I think it's a sign of I don't believe in the direction you're going.
Well, I think it definitely played a part, but at least, like I said, from what I read, when this happened and he opted out of it, he thought, okay, I'll just work a new deal with the Celtics. And even though Kyrie's gone, because Kyrie basically said he wasn't coming back, declined his option at this point.
Right.
Even though Kyrie's gone at this point, he's still trying to work with the Celtics because he's saying Kyrie's gone. They have Gordon Hayward, who's not quite a superstar. They have me. They're going to offer me the deal because they're going to hit panic mode and say we need to keep at least one of our stars. We can't go back to being irrelevant. The Celtics didn't flinch though. It's like a game of chicken. They didn't kind of get out of the way and just do the easy thing and offer Horford 4 or 5 years and sink the franchise potentially 3 years from now. Instead, they said, yeah, we want you, but we probably want you for a year. We probably want you for 2 years at most. We'll give you a short-term contract for probably decent money. And he said no. I think that's where the biggest disconnect is here. And I think you're right. I think that's a big part of it, Brian, that Kyrie leaving is another reason why he would have left. If Kyrie would have stayed, maybe he takes that step back and he says, I'll sign for 1 or 2 years, and maybe we win everything, and someone gives me that big contract like you were talking about, Drew, but...
Well, I don't think he's going to get a big contract. I think this is his big contract. I think he's going somewhere and giving up money. CJ says that he agrees. We're going to assume that you're agreeing with both of us, even though we're saying two different things. And then Devin said, what a crazy duo that would be. I'm assuming he's talking about, hey, we're going to Golden State.
Horford, but yes,
That's what I meant.
That would be unless he's talking about him going to the Nets. I'm not sure where, because I did say maybe Horford goes to the Nets and he plays together. If he does go out to Golden State, that would be great. You're getting a guy who can play great defense against the rim. Importantly, they were missing some of that last year,
which they're going to need,
and an inside scorer. I mean, I know they have Draymond, who does a lot of their work inside. It'd be interesting to see what the two of them work together. But that would be another team that is now focused on their bigs, and then you have a guy like Curry that's hopefully going to have a little more space out there in the open.
Brian says Hayward hasn't been the same since his ankle injury.
And he's right. He hasn't. I'm hoping it's one of those things where he comes back and it was just a 2-year thing where, yeah, he can play last year, but he's not quite the same guy. And 2 years removed from the injury, he's better. But you're right. He hasn't been the same. I know the Celtics are going to need him to bounce back and at the very least be a number 2 there. Because the odds of you landing 2 superstars this year for Boston with Horford and Kyrie gone, I don't like their odds of it.
Yeah. Devin said it was Golden State that he was talking about. It would, in my opinion, it'd be a step up. He's obviously healthier than Cousins is, and were. Yeah, I think I'll go back to my same point that I've been saying. I know that you've have read all that stuff and believed it. It just and it's not a knock on you by any means. It just seems like all these departures are in the sense of what direction Boston's going. And a lot of these superstars don't believe in it. And you know what? I don't blame Boston one bit because 2 years ago, they took a team of a bunch of young players that played as a team and went a lot further than they did this year with superstars.
Well, Horford was on that team too. But I agree with you. I agree. And they added a lot of pieces in free agency. Yeah, and that's it's not something everyone can do in the NBA. These days, it's all about free agency. Bring in the stars, have them play together.
I get that he was there, but I'm just saying.
No, you're right. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. They had more success building the old-fashioned way, trusting the process, if you will, by bringing up all these young guys like Tatum and some of these other guys, turning them loose and letting them, kind of develop a little bit. Do we see them go back to that? Because I think Boston's in a world of hurt right now. These two guys leaving, you're probably not landing two, and Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson being injured for most of next season, I don't expect those guys to move on from where they're at. They're in a very tough position because there's not going to be that many superstars out there. You already know Kawhi is not going to go to Boston more than likely.
Right.
There's not too many guys you're going to be able to land here that are going to turn you back into a contender overnight in the East. You've already got the 76ers that are pretty much staying together. Maybe Jimmy Butler leaves. Beyond that, they're keeping a lot of their guys. You have the Toronto Raptors that, if Kawhi stays, are going to still be a better team than you are.
Yeah.
Boston's in the shit, Drew. I don't know how else to put it. They're in the shit.
I'm agreeing with you.
I don't see a quick way out of this. Do you take a step back for a year and then say, we'll go free agency 2020?
I'll say exactly what I said. No superstar hitting free agency is saying Boston is one of the targets I have on my radar.
And I'm with CJ here. He says Tatum is for real. Maybe you sit there and try to develop a player and go against the grain, against the conventional thinking in the NBA, which is I just need to win free agency and I can win a championship. Maybe you grow some of these players up and then you bring in that big-time free agent. For right now, I got to admit, Drew, I think when you look at it, there's no other option for Boston. You have to take the step back at this point because there's just not going to be enough players in this year's free agency to build a superstar team, so why spend the money?
Well, I'm going to do one more last point, and then we can move on if you feel like it. I actually completely disagree with what you just said right there because I think the movement of all these superstars creates more free agents. When you bring in a center like Al, Cousins sees his way out the door. You see, I'm just bringing up just a couple. Kyrie going to Brooklyn, you see the young man in Brooklyn that I'm forgetting.
Russell.
And you see him moving on. So I agree with you, they're not out there, but bringing in some of these players into teams sometimes create more free agents.
I just think there's levels to things. And my point would be guys like D'Angelo Russell, even though they're good players and guys you can win a championship with, they're not the guys that win the championship for you. So just because you can go spend the money on these guys and your team gets marginally better, is it good enough to win? Because that's what every GM should be asking themselves before they make a deal. Does this help us get closer to a championship? And short of landing one of these top-tier guys, your Kawhi Leonard, your Kevin Durant, if you don't land one of them, what are you doing? You're spending money, you're throwing all these money at these guys that are going to get you the 4th seed in the East and a second-round exit in the playoffs. Yeah. Or a third at best. So, again, I think Boston's in a terrible spot here. And CJ says there's no one in this free agency going to Boston. I'm kind of with you. I don't see the writing on the wall unless maybe they can steal Kevin Durant away and say, we'll throw 2019 out. We'll let our young guys develop a little bit, and then when he comes back healthy, he'll have a core of young players like Tatum that have had another year of offense running through them and hopefully are ready to compete. That would be what I would do. I'd try to lure KD right now and offer him a 4 or 5 year deal. Try to lure him in and say, we know you're hurt. We don't care. You're so great. You're going to be great when you come back for us in 2020. That would be my game plan if I'm the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, they got to come up with something.
Exactly. And it's probably not going to be that quick fix.
No, I don't think so at all.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, make sure you subscribe to our page here and throw us a like if you don't mind.
Guys, remember this is sports around the bar, so grab your favorite drinks, join one of the fastest growing communities on YouTube. We can't wait to hear from you.